If you'd told me 3 months ago that peace and quiet could turn into a war zone over something as stupid as landscape visibility standards, I probably would have laughed you right out of the room. But then again, you probably haven't met the Oakwood Creek Estates HOA or had them try to claim your woodland as their own. The first letter came like a slap, official impersonal, printed on the kind of paper you'd expect from a cheap law office trying way too hard to look important. There it was, right on my kitchen island, declaring that my little slice of solitude in rural Oregon was in non-compliance. Apparently, I'd offended their sensibilities with my trees, and get this, encroached on community-adjacent woodland. My woodland. The words stank of overreach and stupidity, like who comes up with this stuff? I'd spent 20 years slugging it out as a federal prosecutor, only to wind up in the middle of nowhere just trying to breathe, and maybe pick up the pieces after a marriage that finally fell apart. Yeah, that happened. These woods were my fortress, my hard-won little bubble of sanity, where the only rule that mattered was, leave me the hell alone. But now, 3 months in, here comes this HOA one I'd never even heard of acting like they own the place. My lawyer brain immediately kicked in, dissecting the letter for actual legal weight. Spoiler alert, there wasn't any. No bylaws quoted, no specifics, just vague threats about standards and adjacent land. I've read grocery lists with more legal standing. You know what I mean. I fired back a letter of my own, cold-clipped, not a word wasted. Laid out my parcel records, made it crystal clear I was outside their jurisdiction, and told them to take any more nonsense up with my lawyer. Honestly, I figured that'd be the end of it. But nope, if you've dealt with bullies in suits, you already know they can't resist a second round. The next letter landed with a thud printed on thicker stock, like that would make a difference. The tone smug. Now they were hinting at escalation, talking about calling in the county environmental department over unverified disturbances. That's when I realized this wasn't just about some trees. It was a test. They wanted to see if I'd blink. What they didn't know was I don't blink. So I got ready. No more half measures. 3 heavy-duty aluminum, no trespassing signs went up, sunk 2 feet deep and gleaming at every entry point. I swapped my old side gate for one with a steel latch and locked it. Installed trail cams where nobody could see them, one pointed right at the garage just in case. I started locking my main gate every night. It felt weird locking up out here in the woods, but apparently rural doesn't mean safe from lunatics with too much time. Just as I got comfortable with the new routine, I caught them 2 guys in neon HOA vests walking onto my property like they owned the joint. A drone buzzing overhead. Clipboard guy had a smile like a used car salesman, while the other started snapping pictures of everything: my trees, my porch, even the sky. I didn't even let them get started. You've got 5 seconds to explain what the hell you're doing here. Clipboard barely blinked, rattling off something about a routine survey and formal complaints from the community. I stopped him cold. This isn't your jurisdiction. You got my letter. Show me one legal document, just one that says you belong here. His smile got thinner, but he didn't back down. The other guy muttered about problematic residents. The drone buzzed lower. I didn't budge an inch. Finally, they slunk off, but not before making it very clear this wasn't over. That's when the real game started. I checked my cameras, and sure enough, the smooth one had tried the garage door while the other guy filmed it. He'd been inside for 20 seconds. Nothing was missing, but you don't need to steal something to set someone up. Just leave the wrong thing behind. My hands shook a little as I poured myself a bourbon. The stakes had just gone up. I filed a formal complaint with the county sheriff, included photos, timestamps, property deeds, the works. Then I called Ethan, my old buddy from back in my D.C. days, now a lawyer in Cincinnati. He dug around and found out these HOA letters were nowhere on any official record, no standing, no jurisdiction, pure bluff. He called it impersonation and possible fraud. Great. So now we're in criminal territory. But the real gut punch came when a buddy texted me. Dude, your face is all over the Oakwood Creek app. I log on, and there's a blurry picture from my own trail, cam me in flannel and boots, captioned as unknown individual sneaking around the protected pine buffer. Suddenly, neighbors who'd smiled last week were dragging their dogs across the street to avoid me. Even the UPS guy went cold. One genius in a Prius yelled, "Nice job poisoning the forest asshole," before peeling out. I didn't even know what the actual accusation was supposed to be. A couple days later, the county inspector came out. 7 anonymous complaints, he said, about chemical dumping and unpermitted construction. I showed him around. Nothing but organic fertilizer and an old chicken coop, but he let slip that the complaints all used the same weird phrasing. "Feels coordinated," he admitted. No kidding. Now I was the target of whispers and dirty looks, character assassination, the oldest trick in the book. "Gloves off," I told Ethan. We drafted a legal threat for defamation, trespassing, impersonation, and harassment. Filed it everywhere: county sheriff, realtors, the HOA's registered office. I doubled the security, upgraded the cameras, logged every interaction. Still, it got under my skin the way people talked about the recluse on Lot 7, how the old woman at the grocery store whispered to her friend about that guy. But I wasn't leaving. Not a chance. And their next mistake handed me everything I needed. I FOIA'd the county for those anonymous complaints, identical every single one. Same font, same typos. 7 residents, but clearly one author. Sent it to Ethan to trace the IPs. While he worked, I poked around the HOA's finances. There it was, $38,000 spent on external surveillance, twice their maintenance budget. Surveillance of who 3 guesses. Then the twist I didn't see coming. Sam Miller, my friendly neighbor 2 lots down, shows up with a screenshot from the HOA's internal message board. If he caves, we move on the acquisition. Better to squeeze than sue. My land was in their sights for some expansion scheme. And Sam. Turns out he was their GR watchdog, feeding them info while pretending to be my friend. Betrayal cuts deep, but at least now I had names and motives. The next morning, the war got ugly. My front gate padlock was snapped clean, ground trampled, and someone had spray-painted "Move out or else" across my garage, and "We see you too" on one of my new cameras. It wasn't even clever, just angry, desperate vandalism. I called Ethan, then the sheriff. The deputies took one look and said what I already knew: this wasn't HOA nonsense anymore, it was a crime. Felony, intimidation, criminal mischief. We filed the civil suit, $1.2 million with punitive damages. Named individual board members, not just the HOA. And finally, it hit court. You ever seen a packed courthouse where everyone wants to see the local tyrants get what's coming? That was the mood. The HOA's attorney tried to play it off as unfortunate miscommunications, but then Ethan rolled out the surveillance clips. The jury saw the break-in, the vandalism, the drone footage, faces, names, dates, the whole ugly truth. Then came Sam Miller's confession and finally their own chat logs spelling out their plan to squeeze me off my land. The verdict was a landslide, $550,000 in damages. The entire HOA board dissolved on the spot, a full audit, and a court order to investigate every HOA in the county for similar stunts. The courthouse erupted. I stepped out into the sun, neighbors shaking my hand, even hugging me, folks who'd avoided me for weeks now, thanking me for standing up. One old guy, a Vietnam vet, grabbed my arm and said, "You did what none of us could. Thank you." And for the first time in months, I actually let myself exhale. It wasn't just about my land anymore. It was about drawing a line nobody gets to cross. A week later, I put up a new sign at my gate private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted, no exceptions. The sun hit it just right that morning, and I had to smile. The funny thing is, word traveled fast. Other HOAs held emergency meetings, some even dissolved their boards. No more random patrols, no more bogus fines. Just quiet. I did a podcast interview just to say my piece sitting in my backyard where this all started. I told them I'm not special. I just had the skills, a good lawyer, and a stubborn refusal to be bullied. Power is only real if you let them have it. A week after the episode aired, a kid rode by on his bike, stopped at my sign, and shouted, "Hey, are you the guy who sued the whole HOA and won? I just laughed." "That's what they say, kid." He grinned. "That's so badass," and pedaled off, probably to tell everyone at school. I leaned back on the porch, the laughter fading, sun filtering through the pines. For the first time, it felt like home, really home. But if you ask me if I think it's over, well, let's just say, around here there's always someone watching the lines in the dirt. Now I want to hear what you think. Was I right to fight back, or did I go too far? Where do you draw the line between community and control? Let me know this story isn't just mine, after all.